You're watching Voiceover. How did you do it? At voiceoverpodcast.com, where we talk to seasoned, successful voice actors to find out how they did it. I'm your host, Ian Kleinfeld, and you can find me at voicebyian.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at voicebyian. Hey, Anne, welcome.
Thanks so much. It's a joy to be here today.
Thank you. It's a joy to have you. And those are some amazing headphones.
Why, thank you. I love them. They you got to have something that makes you feel good in the booth, right? It's just
Yeah.
it affects your
Those-
performance. It gives you confidence,
yeah.
makes you pop. I love it.
It's like this bass
Yeah,
trap I made. Yeah.
absolutely. And you know what? I have some that color as well. I don't know if you
Nice.
need more, but
Yeah.
see, I got new ones for my new booth.
Nice.
And I don't know if you're familiar, but I think I mentioned to you before that I built a new booth not so long ago.
Oh no,
So
I don't think
yeah.
you mentioned that last
Well, I
time.
moved, and so my old
Yeah.
booth had to be disassembled, and now we moved, and I have a brand new booth, and it's nicknamed the Beast. I love it.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
I have
I
a
didn't have enough red to put in here, so I figured I'd go with the gray, and then the red would really pop.
it does pop. I have red over here, and I'm gonna have an orange one over on that side.
Oh, nice.
There's one there, and those are crimson, and then that one's gonna be orange. I actually have a very big studio. It's in the basement. It's a whole basement room.
Oh, perfect.
But it
Basements are
costs a
great.
lot to treat. But it's
Basements are great. We don't have basements in California, although I
no.
used to live in a place where there were basements, and that's where my first studio was, and it's a great place for a studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Unfortunately,
great place.
so there's like a window here that I covered with foam, and then I covered with another bass trap and a
Mhm.
window there. So it's not underground. It's a
Mhm.
daylight basement,
Oh, got it.
as they call it, but I call it a mullet house because it's one story in the front and two
Yes.
stories in the back.
It's like a walkout basement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
So
what I had. It still was great because if you're up towards the front, like, that's towards
yeah,
the ground,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't get a lot of noise at all,
Well,
it
we're
really is
towards the
quiet.
back, so we're
Mhm,
not underground,
gotcha.
but we're, a good 20 feet below ground level at the street. So
Nice.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
nice. Anyway. So, let's talk about you for a minute about what you're doing now, your website, your business name, if that's different, what sort of stuff you're up to, what do you generally do? For the
Well,
people listening, like I know, but
I
they
do
don't
a I do a lot of stuff.
know.
So let's see, I'm a voice talent, I'm a coach, and I'm a demo producer. And I also produce a podcast called the VO Boss Podcast, and also have a online group called the VO Peeps. So I have a few things that keep me busy on a day-to-day basis, as actually keeps me busy maybe 6, almost 7 days a week. But I have a wonderful team that helps me to do lots of things, and that's important to have a bunch of people that can really help you out, so you can grow your business.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
majority of the time, I'm splitting my time between voiceover and coaching and doing demo production, and that really fills my day up. And I love it. What can I say? I mean,
Oops, I didn't
I
get off my phone.
oh,
Shame on
I'm
me.
living the dream. That's what I say,
Yeah.
because I've been able to fabricate every segment of my business doing
Uh-huh.
exactly what it is that I wanna do. So, I have a a background of teaching, and I taught high school, college, adults, you name it, for probably over 20 years of my
Uh-huh.
life. And so I have a heavy teaching background. So that's where I think, I'm supposed to be.
Uh-huh.
And so therefore the coaching.
Yeah.
And to be a better coach, I do voiceover. I mean, I did voiceover first, obviously, but to be a better coach in voiceover, I think it stands to reason that it helps me when I do voiceover, because I'm in touch with what's happening, what's current, what's relevant, and it benefits my students.
Yeah, definitely. And
So,
what's your website?
my website is well, okay, my core website is anneganguzza.com, and that's ANNEGANGUZZA dot
Just like
com,
it sounds.
just like it sounds. Yes, and that's amazing because it's surprising how many people can't pronounce that.
Oh,
Um,
try being Ian Kleinfeld.
oh, yep, there you go. It's, so yeah, Ingangoose is my central site. I have probably right now I have 8 active websites out
Oh
there,
my God.
for most of them based on genre that I do. So I have elearningvoice.com, medical-narration.com, phonevoice.com, automotiveannie.com.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a few depending on what genre you're looking for, mostly to just build up the SEO value, and they've been around for a while too, so it really does help in terms
Nice.
of being found.
Nice. That's really
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And you'll have another chance to plug all this stuff later too.
Mhm.
We have
Thank
an official self-promotion time,
I love it.
towards the end.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. So, what were you doing before you were doing VO?
Okay, so before I was doing VO, I first of all, my degree is in computer graphics engineering, so I kind of have an engineering background. I went
Mhm.
into biomechanical engineering once I graduated college and worked for a company which is Stryker now, but back in the day was Osteonics, a division of Stryker. So I designed hip and knee prosthetics. I
I might need one.
Yeah, I might need a new hip. So that was a whole lot of fun. I love that. I remember getting that job. It was just the coolest thing because I was employee number 206. And it's
Uh-huh.
really something when you're in the corporate world to work for a smaller company and you really have a sense of pride
Yeah.
working there, especially if you believe in the product. And I believe that it was the basis for, I'm kind of known for my corporate work in terms of voiceover and coaching. And I think a lot of that stems from my experiences in corporate. And that was just a great experience for me. And I did that for 6 years. And then I was going for computer training. I loved it because I got to go for training. And for me, I just love school. That's kind of my life. I love school. I love learning. And so I would go to training while I was in my corporate job. And I ended up meeting my boss for my next job, which was my teaching job at
Mhm.
one of my computer classes. And he just said to me, "Hey, Anne, um, what do you think about teaching? I could use a teacher to teach this computer class at night." And I'm like, well, I've never taught before, but that sounds like fun. And that was it, really. I started teaching at night. I was still working full time at the as my at the excuse me as the mechanical engineer, and then at night I was teaching computer classes, which I fell in love with, and then ultimately went to work at the school full time. But I wasn't
Mhm.
on staff as a teacher. I was on staff as a tech person. So the cool thing about that was I still have my teaching certificate so I could teach, but then I was also on staff as a tech personnel so that any tech that the school got, I was able to learn and then turn around and teach because I taught IT classes. And that was a whole lot of fun. Kind of learn it by the seat of your pants and then teach it. And in technology, I think that that's like a great skill to have because
Yeah.
that's really what we do when we learn new technology. We're just kind of, at least for me, that's how I learn best is by doing. And
Right.
then by teaching, it really helps you to get, I think, the most in-depth knowledge about any topic. And at the time at the school, we had a really decent budget. And this is something that I wish that all schools had great budgets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not the case. But the school that I worked at was a county school. We had avenues where we could apply for grants that were local county grants as well as federal grants. And so we had some money to invest in technology. And I got to play with all that technology. And that was a whole lot of fun. And I really believe that it benefited not only me because I had fun, but it benefited the students, of course, and every tech company wanted to be involved. So we became these academies. So if we wanted to learn a technology or have a technology, we would become an academy. So we were like a Dell Academy. We were, an Oracle Academy. We were an SAP Academy. We were a Cisco Academy. And because of that, we got software and hardware donated, which was
Nice.
great. And so it worked out for all of us. And that was just a really wonderful experience. And I taught there and I taught at night school and then I taught also college in the summer. And so it just became part of who I was
It's
teaching.
just
And I
a
did that for
lot of
20
teaching.
years. Yeah, it's a lot of teaching. And I did that for 20 years. And I think that helped me in my other kind of favorite genre, which is e-learning, because I want to be a teacher behind the mic. And I
Mhm.
fully believe that, I think we've all taken online classes and
Right.
rolled our eyes and probably they weren't the most exciting experiences. And I firmly believe that that is because you're not being a teacher behind the mic and people behind the mic are just reading it perfectly or articulately. And that is where the problem is, because that's boring.
Right.
When you're teaching, you really have to communicate and engage, and that's the basis for the foundation of skills that I think everybody should have behind the mic, whether you're teaching or doing a commercial or doing any type of genre. You should
Mhm.
be engaging and communicating with your listener.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at base, that's what
Mhm.
voiceover is.
Yep.
So how did you get from all that into VO?
Aha. Well, because I worked in the tech department and we were pretty high tech at the school, we were one of the first institutions in the state of New Jersey back then to get voice over IP. And
Okay.
so we installed Cisco voice over IP phones in our school, and we also, because we were a county school, we were an internet provider for all other area schools and nonprofits and government agencies. So we ended up installing those phone systems in other area schools, as well as nonprofits and government agencies, and I was the one that would be the project manager heading that up. And so at the end of an install, I would say to the client, okay, your phones are installed, you just need to record your welcome greeting in that phone tree. And nobody, everybody's always shy. It's really amazes me how
Right.
many times you meet people that are shy about recording their own voice, and they would say, oh, no, 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 you'll do that for me. And I said, okay. So I ended up doing that, and then I just, I was great, because being in tech, which I think you can identify with, I had a pager back then. Now I'm dating myself, but
Right.
I was always being
Well, at
paged
least you
when there
only
were
had one.
well, yeah, that's true. But I was always being paged when there were problems, and people never called me on the phone unless they wanted to, say, "Oh my God, my computer doesn't work or my network doesn't work. I can't get my email." Always like not happy. And so
Right.
when I went to go record, and we had to record back then on the phones, you had to pick up the phone and then record
Right.
type in a code and record your greeting. And so I would be in I would be in the office quiet. Nobody could bother me, and it was like bliss. It was pure bliss. And then I could just become that phone person. And I just really got into it. I was like, "Thank you. Welcome." And I just became that person on the phone. And I had so many people say to me, "Wow, you sound so professional. You should do this for a living." And I looked into it, and that's basically how I got my start. And the interesting thing is that I love telephony. I love doing telephony. I still do a ton of it today. I probably do every day. I do something, some
Wow.
voicemail, some IVR thing. And it just, for me, it's wonderful, because I know, working in customer service for a long time too, how how annoying it is to have that person. You want a human being on the other end. And
Right.
so I try to be a human being when I record those messages, because I know how frustrating it is. I know when people call up and they're frantic about their tech not working, which happens to me still. Like, if my
Oh,
tech
yeah.
doesn't work, I get frantic, and I worked in tech for 20 years. So when people are upset and frantic and scared, and they call up and they want a human being, and they get a voice message, I want to be that message that calms them down. And so in my head, that's the character I'm playing. I am actually the human being that is getting their call and calming them down, and just hopefully giving a wash of zen over them before they actually do get connected.
Give us an example.
Well, I have two different phone voices. Some people just want that, thank you for calling, that kind of voice, or they'll
Yeah.
want, something that's just, welcome to company, thanks for calling. They just want something that's just natural, that's human, or they want a version that's kind of more the robotic sound. I like to do
Mhm.
the more natural sound, and believe it or not, a lot of people like that sound better, because it's different.
Shocking.
Yeah, yeah, well, it's different than what you hear a lot of times. But, I think all of us can go into that almost somewhat robotic voice, if we need to, because we've heard it so much and we mimic. And so it's easy for us to do that. The hard part is to do something that's just genuine and natural. And I always tell my students the hardest thing is to sound genuine when you're saying welcome, or hello, or hi, I'm Ann, or, when you're doing a script in e-learning, welcome to module one. How are you going to say welcome to module one in a genuine way? A lot of
Right.
times people might sound welcome to module one. And I'm like,
Welcome to
yeah,
module one.
you would never say it like that to me. So I'm always like, physicate, guys, like as if you're seeing me at the door and you outstretch your hand and you're like, welcome to module 1. And so it's like a genuine, like, I'm so glad to see you. And it really helps to do the physical role play and with your hand motion. It really helps to do that. And hello is very hard to do as well. Hello, I'm so and so. Or, it always ends up sounding, for most people, if they don't think about it or are consciously trying to be genuine, it's like, hello,
Right.
hello, I'm Anne. Like, you don't say it like that. And usually it's because they've written it hello. Like,
Right.
we're not always, we might say hey or hi or something, a little more casual, but trying to say the word hello in a genuine way where you're happy to see somebody, it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult. So,
Especially on the spot.
yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think you owe your success to so much in VO?
Hmm. I'm going to say hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say busting my rear end,
Hmm.
and really having a good sense of the business aspect of it.
Yeah.
You can have the best voice in the world, but it doesn't do any good if nobody knows about it. And so
Right.
to have a sense of who you are as a business and where you want to be in the business, and then how a business sense of how to grow that business and a marketing sense and a desire to want to grow. It's interesting because you can reach a certain level of success and then you feel like, "Well, okay, this is good. I feel like I'm making a certain amount of money and I can support my business." And when you get there, that's wonderful. But then there's the next level. And so there's I would say the continual improvement or the continual growth of your business, which is always a challenge to me. I'm always trying to grow my business. And so that really forces me to think outside the box. How can I reach my client? How can I reach my potential client? And things like that. I love a good challenge. It's probably why I did really well in technology, and in debugging and figuring out I like to
Mhm.
figure out what problems are. And so I apply the same skills to how to grow my business. Okay, what do I want to see here? And I mentioned before that I love my business because I can split my time between teaching, producing demos, voicing, doing my podcast, because that's exactly what I want to do. And I'm able to like divide my time up between those projects.
Mhm.
And it's a challenge. And yet it's also a really wonderful thing when I can get them all to work together to
Right.
grow
I
my
can
business,
imagine that's a
because
lot in the air.
it is a lot. And again, I'm gonna stress that it's not me. It's not just me. It's I have the help of a wonderful team of people. And just that alone, just saying losing taking that control away from just, oh my gosh, I'm gonna run my business. I'm the only one that can do it, to actually grow and expand and to be able to manage people, manage a team that can help your business grow. That's your next step. And I'm really proud of doing that because that wasn't an easy thing to do. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna say that my maybe my tenacity, my willingness to kind of dip my toe in and then, okay, that didn't work quite the way I wanted to. Let's try this.
Right.
That is probably what attributed to my success today is being bold in my business and really taking risks and being okay with that and being okay with a fail so that I can
Yeah,
grow.
you gotta fail
Yeah.
if you're gonna succeed. You have
Yep.
to.
Yep.
Yeah. So what kind of team do you have? Like, what kind of positions are on your team?
So, I have a team that does social media promotions for me, email promotions for me. I have two people that help me with that. Actually, three. I have a copywriter. I have a copywriter that helps me with one of my VO Boss products,
Mhm.
because I do marketing for voice talent as well. I have a transcriptionist that transcribes my podcast. I have a video editor. What else do I have? I've got at least 6 or 7 people. I have a video editor. Yeah. So everyone is they have their own specialty. And so, yeah, right now I've got two girls that do my promos, transcriptions. I have an editor too, podcast editor,
Mhm.
a video editor. Yeah. So I've got a team of 6 people.
Wow, that's
And it's
amazing.
they don't work 40 hours a week for me, but
Right.
combined together, they're working quite a few hours. And it's the only way that I would be able to do what I do, because most people are like, how do you do all of that? And I certainly don't want people to think, well, she's doing all of that. How is she even doing voiceover?
Right.
Well, I have to have time to do that, because that's really what drives it all. And so I have to outsource, and I encourage people to outsource if they can. And the thing is if you can release some of your time that maybe you're doing editing and you pay an editor, it gives you more time to market so that you can get more jobs, so that you can then employ your editor more.
Hmm.
So I think that it works, and it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. Most people are like, I don't have the money to pay an editor, and I'll just do it myself. I'll save money. But in reality, if you can let that go and put your faith in that, you now have more time to market yourself, to get other jobs and grow in other areas. I think that is going to benefit you and benefit your business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So, and I know you have none of the next question, but do you maybe have any suggestions for new voice actors that you can possibly think of?
Well, let's see. I'm actually there's a lot of really wonderful resources out there
Yeah.
already for, hey, I want to get into voiceover. I'm actually making my own, which will be coming out in the next month or so,
Okay.
just because I have so many people that ask me, so how do I get into voiceover? What should I do? I'm going to say that you're the top thing is get coaching,
Yeah.
get coaching and put the effort into your craft, and coaching, not just for voiceover, but, even if marketing, business, educate yourself, or, join a class. But definitely you must always hone your craft and work on your craft, because it's not easy what we do. I mean, it's, every day when I'm teaching my students, it's like, it's not easy to read words off a page and make them mean something to your listener. There's so much
No.
going on behind the scenes to make that happen, and it doesn't happen overnight. And it amazes me how many people, you know, think that, oh, it's, of course, everybody says it's speaking into a mic, or it's simple. It's, we go to school for different topics, medical school, I don't know, veterinary school, whatever, IT certification, whatever. We go to school and we study for hours or
Hmm.
years even for a particular job. And why is voiceover any different, or why should it be different? I think that you have to put your hours in, like Malcolm Gladwell says, 10,000 hours. Now, I'm not saying you have to pay for 10,000 hours of coaching, but you've got to really, you've got to probably put some effort in there. And if you're just going to go get a demo and you've had maybe, I don't know, 10 hours, let's
Yeah.
just sometimes people are like 10 hours of going over scripts and then they're going to record a demo. I'm like, how is that logical? It's not. I mean, it's not logical to think that you could, put together a demo and say, okay, I'm a professional now. I have a demo. I've spent 10 hours reading these scripts and going over with them with my coach or my director. And now I've created you know, this showcase of my voice, but yet I may not be able to reproduce it because I've only
Right.
done it for 10 hours. And so I really think people need to at least understand that, and give themselves credit. I mean, and not, beat themselves up if they're not like, well, I'm not getting work now after I did my demo, but you've got to put the work in, put the work in.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. No, it's a lot, and the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
exactly.
You know,
It's true.
and,
It's true.
just the more I learn, like, oh, well, there's, automotive is a completely different animal than, commercial. And then there's three different types of automotive. There's the national, and there's the
Right.
regional, there's the local,
Exactly.
and then there's
Exactly.
medical, and then there's regular narration, and then there's e-learning. And every single one of these things has a completely different way of approaching how to speak to the people that you're speaking to.
Right. And
And yeah,
that's it. That's absolutely is you have to understand who you're speaking to, and then speak to them. And that whole they're just that it sounds so simple, but it's not.
no.
It's really not. And so I think that it's something that you need to put some time into it. And one thing that I'm always saying to my students is, why do people just run into their studios to do auditions, and they have the script, they're like, okay, and I'm going to do one audition after another, but you haven't really spent any time, evaluating, like, who's the company, what's the product, and
Hmm.
what is their brand, and are there other commercials out by this brand, or are there other, they have something on their YouTube channel. What is this brand trying to say? What is the purpose of the copy? I think a lot of times we just go in, we read it, we're like, okay, we got it, and then boom, we just record it. But I think there needs to be maybe a minute or two more spent on evaluating what the purpose of the copy is. There's always a reason for every word on the page. And so what is that reason? What is that purpose? And when you have that innate understanding of what the purpose of the copy is and who it is that you're trying to reach, I think that you're going to do a much better job at that audition. And that audition's going to, it's going to sound different than everybody else's, because in our heads, like, because we tend to mimic things and we've heard commercials on television, we've seen a lot of TV, we tend to mimic
Hmm.
before we actually evaluate what we're actually saying. And we're just like, oh, here's the words. Okay, now I hear a melody and I'm going to mimic that. But in reality, that doesn't always fit what the copy is saying, or
Right.
what the directions or the director wants you, to speak. It's, and a lot of times they're calling for a conversational, and
Right.
the reason why is because conversational friend peer sells. The announcer, obviously doesn't work as well anymore. We hear it still, and I don't teach anybody how to be an announcer, because I think we all innately know how to do it. we
Right.
all we all heard. But what's really difficult is to take those words and make them your own, and make them authentic, and make them like, hey, this is a great product. I really love this product. And without sounding like, hello, this is the product, you can buy this product, and
Welcome to
sound
the
like,
product.
welcome to the product, you know? Um, so it's a difficult but a wonderful, beautiful, creative craft. I just love the whole challenge of being able to make those words my own. And that is then in and of itself, I think, is the beauty of what we do.
Yeah, it is. And it is very challenging. And,
Mhm.
um, as I said, the more I learn that I need to learn, and the subtlety of things, and just like, I think a lot of the problem with in the hurry with the scripts is, especially with the pay to plays, you feel like if you don't get it in that second, they're not going to hear you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so
And
it's, everything's rushed, and
yep.
it's terrible.
Yep. And
But
then you're gonna just sound like everybody else who went in there and rushed.
yeah. And
So
that right there is great advice for everybody listening. That's probably worth the cost of the podcast right there.
gotta make it your own. Gotta bring yourself to the party. And people say that all the time, make it your own and make it you. And I'll just say it for the billionth time that you may have heard it. But really, people want to connect with you. They don't want to connect with your voice. They don't want to connect with the sound. They want to connect with the person. I mean, we are innately human beings that want to connect to one another. And
Hmm.
so when they're listening to that voiceover, they want to connect to it. They don't want to, if you become just a voice or a melody, it's almost like white noise in the background. And so why, and if you are not trying to connect with them, why do they need to bother trying to listen or connect to you? Right? It's a
Exactly.
kind of an engaging two-way thing. So,
Yeah. Mm. Well, I loved your suggestion this morning about coaching me through reading the script that I
oh,
normally have
fun.
everyone else read. So, are you ready to do
Cool.
that?
Yeah, but do we have the script? Are you going to put that up
Oh, I
online, or
emailed
do
it
I
to
need to?
you.
Oh, okay. So hang on, let me go
Yeah.
grab that so I can see it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Doo-doo-doo. I'm sorry, I wasn't
That's all
prepared
right.
here.
That's all right. So while she's looking for the script, I'll say that you're listening to the Voiceover How Did You Do It podcast at voiceoverpodcast.com. And we talk to successful and experienced voice actors and others to find out how they did it and how you can do it too. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So
So,
I'll do a read, I guess, and then you can coach me on
yes,
that.
absolutely. So,
Okay.
yes, the script is Lift.
Lift.
It's a commercial script?
This is a script that was written for me by well, with me from Ann Anna Garduno,
Mm,
who's doing my demos, and it's one that we didn't use. So
okay,
yeah. So
great.
Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
All right. So I thought that was a good read, and to begin with, you got through it, you didn't stumble, and you've probably heard this one, so you're a little bit familiar with it. So
Yeah.
what I would love to see you do at the end, I saw you get involved physically,
Yeah.
and I felt that that felt more natural than the beginning. It's always the toughest, the very beginning of the script, because I think we're just coming into it almost cold.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've heard a lot of people, what you can lead into it. Again, we want to make sure that we're communicating with another person. To be engaging, you want to communicate to me. So for example, you know what, Anne, and we can lead in with something like that. Lyft is more, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Well, what do you mean? And so when I want to be engaged in a conversation, I want to be engaged fully throughout the script. I think one of the things that most people do when they're reading a script is they set it up in their head. Okay, who am I? Who am I talking to? And okay, I'm Anne. I'm talking to Ian, and I don't know, we're at the kitchen table, and I need to get a ride to the store. And so we start talking about what my options are. And so I set that all up. And then what happens to a lot of us when we pick up that script is we start reading and we read from left to right. And
Hmm.
well, what happened to Ian in the middle of that script? Where's Ian? What's he doing?
Uh-huh.
Is he talking to you? Is he shaking his head? Is he like, no, no, no? Is he arguing with you? No, this isn't the type. You don't
Right.
want Lyft, you want Uber or whatever it is. So I think we have to address the engagement and the conversation which needs to happen between more than just you. And if you're reading from left to right, it is becoming just you.
Hmm.
So what I would say is after you say you lead in and with the conversation and you say, Ann, Lyft or Ian, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. And I want you to actually pause for like a beat
Uh-huh.
and wait for my reaction. Right?
Okay.
Or you're gonna react to me and go, "What? What do you mean?" Right? So I
Right.
give it a beat. And so then what I do is I respond to you and I say, "Yeah, you heard me right." And believe it or not, when you actually respond rather than read the words from left to right, it's going to come into the melody a little bit differently. It's going to
Hmm.
come in as a reaction rather than a read and a report. A lot of times
Hmm.
when you're reading your script and you read and you report on it, it could sound like it's conversational, but not quite. There's something that's not as engaging about it. It's because you're not responding. You're not responding to the action. You're not responding
Uh-huh.
to the person that you're engaging with. So I would say in your head, and you can in your head say, you know what, Anne, you can lead into it, or you can lead into it and then just
Yeah.
in post you wipe it out. But I want you, before you say, yeah, you heard me right, I want you to wait for my reaction.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. Great feedback.
So you want to try it again?
Yeah. I would love to try it again.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Okay, Anne, I know that you think Lyft is just a way to get from place to place, but Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
you heard me right.
Really? I don't
Shared
know.
rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more.
No way, I don't see that. What? Where? How do I
Th-
get to those?
And they're all available with your Lyft app.
Wow,
We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, download the Lyft app today and get going.
Well, okay, so now at
And
this
get out
point,
of here.
so in this point, I might say, at this point, I point say, well, all right, so cool. Like, what else do I need to do? And you'd be like, you know what? And download the Lyft app today and get going.
Yeah,
So you always want to like react. And
yeah,
interestingly enough, when you react without you and me actually having that conversation together, it sounds a whole lot more natural and it sounds a
yeah,
whole lot more real and present. And it invites the listener along the conversation with you and along the journey, I like to say. So
yeah.
good
Let's
job.
let's try that again.
Okay,
One more
I'm
time.
gonna I'm gonna not respond. I'm gonna let you
Right.
respond in your head, or you can also say it. And again, look, we're in our booths. Like, unless you're being live directed, you can do whatever you want, right? You can lead in as much as you want, and you can just edit that out. And that's the
Yeah,
beauty of it all.
yeah. All right. So I know you think that Lyft is just a way to get to one place to another, but Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared bikes, rides, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Cool. Much better, right? right? See it?
Yeah, I like that. It's a little awkward because I haven't done it like that before, but I liked it.
Mhm. And I
Yeah.
think that's, I think it's a good kind of just talk to you gotta to be conversational, it requires more than one person.
Yeah.
Usually when you're reading, and if you're reading aloud and you're not really interacting with another person, then it sounds like a report. And it may sound somewhat conversational, but it's not gonna be as authentic, as if you're actually having a conversation. So, what's the
Yeah.
best way to sound conversational? Actually have the conversation,
Yeah.
you know?
Me and
And
me.
and it
Exactly.
doesn't yeah, and it doesn't take a whole lot longer, believe it or not, to just kind of take a beat in between the sentences and figure out, well, okay, what's happening at this point in the scene? Like, is somebody reacting or, are they arguing with me and saying, "No, I use, Uber," or whatever it is.
Yeah.
As long as you're taking that into account, your brain is figuring out what the conversation is rather than what should it sound like. And so it's more important for you to understand that I need the information from you. I'm not listening to you because I like the way you sound, right? Because
Right.
even if you sound beautiful, after about 2 minutes, I'm done, right? It's the
Right.
same sound and it can be boring after a
Right.
while. I want to interact. I want to be part of it. And so that's one way to do that. So good job.
Nice. Thank you. You want to do one?
Oh, I kind of did the lift. You
Yeah.
gonna, yeah, I kind of did that. I mean, for me, I would be like, well, now I got to look at it. So, and by the way, the physication really helps.
Yeah.
Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there in more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice. N-
So,
Now, how different would that read be if you were doing it for medical?
medical,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I really want medical because it depends on what medical you're
Yeah.
talking about. There's two different
Training.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're training, I would say that you want to be a teacher behind the mic. So,
Okay.
unless I want you to bring those teaching moments audibly to my ears. So, assume that the person that you're teaching is not looking at the screen, right? Just
Right.
assume that they're texting or something else and they're listening. And every teaching moment should be elevated audibly so that if somebody were taking notes, they would know what words to write down. So, anything that what I call as a teaching moment. And um, it's hard to kind of put this in a medical perspective, but Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. So, what's important in that sentence is Lyft, right? The name of the product,
Uh huh.
and the fact that it's a lot more than just a car ride. So, and the car ride might be your teaching moment, right? And Lyft is what you're talking about. So, you always want to highlight those. So, I would kind of lift up inflection wise on that as well as elongate the words because that means it brings it to this, brings it audibly higher. It elevates a little higher. So somebody hears it a little bit better. So lift is a lot more than just a car ride. And so I'm spending a little more time on what I call the teaching elements. And
Hmm.
then if you have, yeah, you heard me right. Well, is what teaching moment is there? Yeah, you heard me right. So, um, and then when you go through a list, I'm always going through a list when I'm counting on my list. Probably in a medical, narration, if each part of the list is important, then I would take a little more time in the list, but I wouldn't go too slow. And I wouldn't say shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. So I always try to keep those together.
Hmm.
Um, because when you break up what I call the phrase or the idea, then it's harder to absorb and learn from. So, for
Hmm.
example, you're talking about a lot of things here: shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. So, you've given them each their importance, but you've also combined them together, right? You didn't break in
Hmm.
between those commas so that people could find out, wow, that's a lot, right? That's just you listed off a lot of things there. So the idea is that it's more than just the car ride, it's all these other things too. And so the general learning point is that, wow, they service more than just cars, all these other things too. And
Hmm.
so it's one way to really capture and and highlight the teaching moments.
Nice.
So
Excellent. Thank you.
you're
So,
welcome.
other audition suggestions for newbies? I mean, we've done a bunch, but that's on my list. Speaking of lists.
Yeah, make it different. You have to make it, you have to make, like, if you go in and you're like, "Oh, I hear the melody. This is what I think it should sound like." Then I want you to say, "Mm-mm." I want you to go back and I want you to make it different. And I want you to, instead of maybe changing the sound of it, like in going higher or lower, I want you to change the emotion. I want you to pick an emotion that's a nuanced emotion. So if you're like, "Oh man, I'm frustrated," this and I need something new, right? And then, oh boom, the product. So I need you to give me a variation. Are you frustrated, or are you just a little bit like you're just kind of sad about it because you're tired, or are you really frustrated? So there's a nuance between being really frustrated and being, oh God, I'm weary. I'm tired
Uh-huh.
of it. So pick a different emotion to approach the audition, and don't be afraid to change emotion within the sentence. So for example, you could be really frustrated, but then all of a sudden you're like, but wait, I've got this. Look at this. And so it can be like a transition. So that showcases your acting a whole lot better than just, you know, repeating the words with a sound, a melody that you think it should sound like. You've actually got emotion tied to it. And again, we connect with emotion, and actually it's marketing 101 that people buy with emotion more than
Right.
anything else. And so you want to connect and you want to evoke an emotion from your listener.
Okay. So if I were to do this, let's say, man, I'm tired of standing on the street corner. Luckily, Lyft is a lot more than a car ride.
Yes. See how
Yeah,
different
you
that
heard
is?
me right.
Mhm,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
and
that
it's
is
a whole
different.
different, and what it does is it creates a different sound, especially if your auditions, they're asking you to do, 2 different versions, right? Or 2
Yeah.
takes, and so it gives you 2 completely different versions if you change the emotion rather than just saying, well, first I was like, "Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride," and then I'm like, "Okay, my second version is gonna be, Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride." So they pretty much sound the same, I just changed pitch, but when
Right.
you change emotion, you it really adds a whole lot of texture to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So sit or stand?
Okay, so for up until now, until my new studio, I stood because I had it was a smaller studio and I didn't have the space to actually put a chair. And so I stood for many, many years. And I thought it was great because I did a lot of narration and it was good for my breathing to
Uh-huh.
stand. And now I have this lovely, like, bigger booth and a beautiful desk in front of me, and I have a chair and I sit up straight.
What's your
um,
chair?
my chair, it's an ergonomic chair.
Okay.
It's, like, right here behind me. You can
Yeah.
see it.
Uh-huh.
But it's like an ergonomic office chair. And so outside of the studio, I have my desk that I work at, unless I'm recording in here or doing a webinar, I'm outside of my desk and I have a standing desk where I can stand and sit as I need. When I'm in here, I will sit up straight. I can also stand. I can move my monitor up and down. But
Okay.
for now, I got used to sitting, and but I make sure that I sit up straight so I can breathe properly. It's important that I
Right.
breathe properly.
Yeah, I have a sit stand desk in the studio actually.
Yeah,
So
that's nice.
I sit for things like interviews and I stand for
Mhm.
actual recording for the
Yep.
most part,
Yeah. I think it
unless
puts
I'm
your I
feeling
think it
really lazy.
yeah, I think it puts your breath in the right spot so that you
Yeah.
can, and also you have to be able to move. You wanna be
Yeah.
able to move without, like, hitting your mic or, change things up. So,
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's go back to self-promotion time. Let's hit those things again.
self-promotion and Ganguzza.com, that's pretty much my central, website. So if you're looking for, I'm happy to talk to you about, working on your upping your e-learning game or your commercial game or your corporate narration or medical, all of those things. I'm a complete geek and I love them. So you can sign up for a free consult with me there. And you can also listen to demos I've produced. And also, I would say take a look at my VO Boss podcast. I've been doing it for just about 4 years now. And
Mhm.
that is a labor of love. That's at voboss.com. And then also, you can join my online VO Peeps group. I don't think I talked about when I first moved to California, I created a group because I missed teaching.
Mhm.
And it was before I was teaching in this area, and so I started the VO Peeps group so that I could connect up with other people. And because I had a technology background, I was one of the first few people to stream events online, and I'm going to say that was in 2010. So the streaming
Mhm.
technology was a little bit,
Right.
think it was Telestream. I can't remember the name of it before it was Telestream, but it was just beginning. So I created this group called VO Peeps, made it a global group, and did these hybrid classes out of my studio where people would come in person and I would invite the Zoom people in as well, and we would host classes. And I still am doing online every month. Every month I do online guest directors from all different genres all over the industry at vopeeps.com. So it's a
Nice.
fun group.
I am
Yeah.
going to check that out because I've
Yeah.
checked out your other stuff. I just
Yep.
haven't checked out VO Peeps yet.
Yep. VO Peeps is fun. And you get a free month, by the way. I was just able to build that in. So you get a free month trial. And so it's no obligation. You just, go and binge. It's all the videos and all the workouts that we have done in the past few years. I try to keep the last 20 of them, and every month it's refreshed with a new workout. And so you can go and learn with the videos. And we also do a free webinar every month as well. So
Nice.
that's a lot of fun. And it's $24 a month.
Nice.
No obligation. Go ahead, binge watch for 1 month if you want, and then quit. That's fine. But I think you'll see there's a lot of education there. So I love to supplement that with, one-on-one coaching for people that are interested.
Nice. And you have coaching packages, and you have
I do.
coaching in all the different areas that you do, and
I do.
demos in all the different areas that you
Yes.
do.
And I have payment plans too. That's a new thing. So thank you for Wix for, upping your game there. So I could do payment plans easily. So I know that it's hard. It's tough out there. And I want you all to be safe and healthy. And that's very important. Very important.
Yeah.
And distract yourself if you need to with all the craziness going on by studying voiceover. I'm happy to give you, and by the way, I'm a teacher. I give lots of homework. So if you want a distraction, I'm good for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Any last words?
Just do it.
Just do
If
it.
this is something that you guys want to do, I'm all about the positive encouragement and just manifestation of a career that you love. And just, you can do it. Manifest it for yourself. And if you are feeling unsure, call me for a consult. And I'm a good cheerleader.
Yes, you're an excellent cheerleader.
So I can, but I'm real too. So I've worked enough to know that we need to have a dose of reality of what this industry is and what it's not. And so it's definitely not a get quick rich thing. But it is something that if you have a passion and you want to work for it, and I can understand the words that come out of your mouth and you don't have maybe a a speech impediment or something, I think that you've got a shot if you work hard to really, and you can bring yourself to the party. That's who we all want to connect with. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Anne, for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure.
And I will see you on the interwebs.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Voiceover. How did you do it? At www.voiceoverpodcast.com with me, Ian Kleinfeld. You can watch the video to all our podcasts at voiceoverpodcast.com/YouTube. The background track is 1959 by my alter ego Max Rocket, and you can find that and other songs at www.maxrocketmusic.com. Remember to like, subscribe, write a review, and all that good stuff on whatever podcast streaming service you're listening to, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.